It's Hawaii 5-0. You guys didn't know you're going to get to watch Steve McGarrett this morning, did you? Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, May 10th. It is 7:06 in the morning. You guys will find that I am up here a little bit early. Summer hours are now in full effect at my full-time job, which means I get to go to work early and get off early. So, you guys are seeing the first time that I've been able to get on Periscope this early. Yesterday was... I had to go get stamps. It's very strange. Very strange I had to get stamps. But we are back with the Periscopes. You can expect these about 3 times a week. Let's dive into kind of the announcement section that we always do first while everybody else is getting on here. Announcement number 1. If you are a reader of the FBA Master blog, you will find that a blog post about merch by Amazon was posted yesterday. So, you can go read that. It's pretty much a how-to guide to upload your first shirt and give you some ideas on how to actually make some money off of it. So feel free to go read that. It's just a nice, big, long post that we put up there because I was tired of getting asked about merch by Amazon and kind of, how do I upload a shirt? Well, when we get asked the same question 20 times, that's a sign for us to write a blog post. When we write a blog post, it gets up there and we just share the link after that, which makes it very nice. So that'll be it's live. We have one list right now that is live. I think we have about 6 copies left of it. It's an estimate, and maybe a few more. It's some health, beauty, and grocery items. So you can definitely check that out if you're interested. We do have the OA X-ray course this evening. Woot woot! It is week 2. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is how to actually use OA X-ray to find deals. So we're going to go through a few different types of methods. I know we're going to cover coupon stacking, discount codes, just kind of gift cards. We're going to compile that all into one form of viewing that. And then we're going to go doing some retail arbitrage list finding. We're going to use it to find some opportunities for new products or new product listings. And we're also going to show you how to dive into just regular stores and what to look for, what not to look for. I'm going to give you guys my business model of what I look for in an item while using OA X-ray, and then also what I look for to make sure that it at least has some price stability before the price tanks, or showing that the price won't tank, whatever that is. So that is what we'll be covering this evening. If you can't make it, no problem, there's a replay, and we should have some fun. We always have some fun. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. It's with me, the shiny face, and we will go from there. So, as for, let's see, any other announcements? Oh, today we should have a, shoot, I gotta edit that down. I gotta finish that up. We have a seller list podcast / video that will be going live. Hopefully today. I've got to get some time to edit that down. So we should be able to run with that. And then anything else? Oh, if you're part of our list club or part of if you've submitted a ticket or anything that you have needed any of us in, it has been a crazy month for me. So I am way behind at work and in personal stuff and everything. You should see our front room right now. Probably, actually, you shouldn't. So give me just a little bit of a leadway. I hope to have everything caught up by the end of the week, but there's a strong possibility on that. Also, one of my 2 partners, John, has a little bit. I thought my stuff had been kind of crazy. He's been it's been a little ridiculous for him. So if you have any questions for John or me, just give us the end of this week, start of next week, we'll get to them. We promise we're not ignoring you. Yeah, we need to clone me. If I could train a VA, so that goes into our topic for the day, virtual assistants. And what I was going to say, if I could train a VA to be me, that'd be awesome. But I have an issue every time. And I'm notorious for this. I have one VA that I'm actually I'm utilizing for the best I've ever had with a virtual assistant. I've got to get her to do just a few things differently, but she was pretty much trained when I got her. I don't know how, but she knew what she was doing. So what we're going to talk about is how in the heck to find a good VA. What should you be looking for? How should you find it? What tasks should you be outsourcing? That kind of stuff. We'll cover that in kind of two parts today. This one, and as long as I don't have anything I'm doing on the way home, like phone calls, we will do that on the way home as well. So, first thing we've got to determine when looking for a virtual assistant or a VA. For anybody who is listening and has no idea what a VA is. A virtual assistant, what they do is they are essentially your assistant. They are a paid employee of yours. So they're not like employee where you got to pay like payroll taxes or anything. They're a paid independent contractor to do the task that you specify. Typically, these tasks are computer-based, and the majority of the virtual assistants are based overseas. You will find a very large majority of them from the Philippines. I'm starting to see a lot more from like Jamaica or Eastern Europe. They're pretty much everywhere, but you're going to see a really high concentration of the ones that you and I will use, most likely based in the Philippines. English is it's understood, it's spoken there. You find that these people are very willing to work. The cost of labor is pretty low. When I was talking, we had a grad assistant at Ball State with us. He was from India, and he was telling me that if a family was able to bring home $250 a month, they were high-class living. So a lot of these places, you may think that, oh, well, there's just really low rate, but if you actually add it up as consistent employment, then you'll see that they actually make pretty good money for where they're at, and you're actually giving them a job without having to go build a building over in India, Philippines, wherever, and having to actually physically be there. So what's a VA do? Well, computer-based tasks are the majority of it. So the only other thing that you can possibly have them do is like phone-based tasks. You do run the risk of a very foreign accent being present when you're doing those, and for the majority of us Amazon sellers, we don't really have a need for phone conversation pieces. We may be able to set up a phone call and have you take the phone call, but odds are there's not going to be a ton of need for that. So what tasks can they do? Well, online sourcing is a big one. Data entry, management of backends on Amazon. I'm using one for Merch by Amazon Designs, and damn is she good. Damn. I give her a design and she creates it, and it's spectacular. So we have those, and then let's see, what else do we have? They can contact wholesalers for you. They can do email management. They can do logo artwork. They can do social media posting. They can do pay-per-click advertising campaigns. Anything you can train somebody to do, they can do. Now, I will throw one little plug in there. I have not used this company yet. We've actually done an initial phone conversation. I need to get back with them if I want to hire a VA or not. But 24/7 VA, with the number 20 spelled out 4, 7 is the number, VA.com. They actually specialize in like helping you train virtual assistants. So you say, yes, I'd like one, and then they basically give you one and say, here you go. We've trained them on basically what you're going to be using them for. Have fun. That kind of thing. I haven't used them yet, so I can't say a yay, nay on there. I'm just going to let you know that it is a place. They do specialize in VAs for Amazon sellers. So if you're sitting here going, Chris, I can't train a VA, that may be a place for you to start until you learn the process, and then you can do it on your own. So where do I find my VAs? I find them on Upwork. Upwork, upwork.com. This used to be, what the heck did it used to be? Elance, Freelance, Odesk. It used to be Odesk. And they kind of merged together and changed names and all this jazz. It's Upwork now, okay? That's what it is. Yeah, Odesk, good. I'm not insane. I used to use it when it was Odesk, but then they moved to Upwork, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It all directs there now. So that's where I get the majority of my virtual assistants from. Actually, now that I think of it, the sole amount besides 1 or 2 have come from Upwork. So, how do I get started? Well, first of all, you need to write out a list before you ever decide to hire a VA. This is from trial and error, of the tasks you want the VA to actually do. It's really cool to say I have a VA, but it really sucks when you pay someone and don't have any task for them to do. Then you run into the problem of you start out, you're gung-ho, and then you find you're spending more time trying to find things for them to do than the time that you're saving having them do it. Okay? That's kind of step 1. Then you need to look at that task list, and you need to see what needs training, what is the simple directions. How in the heck do you even train these people? I love to use video. If you don't have a nice video software, Screen-O-Matic is free, has a watermark in it. When you're sharing them back and forth between people, it really doesn't matter if it has a watermark or not. No one cares. So I like to do video. I like to walk them through exactly what I want them to do, giving them the tips that I need along the way, and sending them that video. That makes it really, really easy for me, instead of trying to write out long explanations and hoping that the language barrier isn't an issue. So that's, I try to go through and I try to like check mark. Okay, well, this is a task I need. Here's how I need to train them. Can it be done in text or letters in a pretty easy fashion? If yes, go ahead and type out those instructions. If no, how else can I show them? Is there a video course I can give them to do this? Should I have them, should I do a video myself? How should I do this or that? Once you have that laid out, then essentially you can build your job description. And that's when we're going to create the job posting. You just say virtual assistant needed, maybe a clever title. And then what I always do is I always ask a question at the start of my description. I'll say, please start off by telling me your favorite band, or please tell me your favorite color. Start this thing with your favorite movie. I do something at the top there just to make sure they're effing reading the job description. If people just apply and didn't take the time to actually do what I've asked in an instructional post for the job description, then you know what? They're not going to take the time to actually read my emails that I'm going to send them for my virtual assistant ship. So I always start off with that, and then I start off with a very clear description of exactly what the job is going to entail. So I say it's going to entail the following: blank, 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 blank. Here are the skills needed, dot, dot, dot. And then they give you the ability to ask some questions. So I do a cover letter of sorts with some questions on there. And I ask ones that are very specific to the assignment. How long are you, how much other work are you currently doing for as another virtual assistant? What skill set do you have in blank? If it's design work, I need to see portfolios. So I write all this out, I'll pick the skills and I'll look at the hours, and then I submit. Usually within about 12 or 24 hours, you're going to have a pretty full pool of applicants. And out of these applicants, it's time to start going down through and looking for the one that's going to fit your needs. Now, if you've been a hiring manager, HR, or anybody that's ever hired before, it is not super fun to go through a bunch of resumes and look at which person is best for your position. The easiest way I find it is I like to think of my terms, and I like to think of it in terms of budget. I need to say, how much am I willing to pay per hour? Because they get to bid on the price. And I'll say, okay, I'm willing to pay $6 an hour for this help. So my first cut is going to be anybody who is above the $6 an hour price point. That's where the first cut's going to come. And I'm going to look at their feedback. And then I'm going to go through and look to see if they've even answered that question I asked at the start of it. You'd be amazed that about half of the people that you actually get applications from will not take the time to answer that first question. So if you had 50 applicants and you reduced it by them, say half of them were over your budget, you're down to 25. Now you're probably down to 15 that have answered that initial question, maybe 10. From there, what I like to do is I like to go back and read their work history, how many hours they've actually logged on Odesk. I'm not going to throw out those who have never logged anything. Sometimes those are the best finds. I've had some really, really good work done from those who have had no hours on Odesk, and no one would give them the time of day to hire them. I like to see references, so the feedback that's at the bottom, and I like to see any portfolio pieces. So if I'm going to hire someone for web development, I want to see websites they've built or had a hand in doing. If they're going to be hired for graphic design, I expect to see a pretty nice portfolio of graphic design pieces they've done in the past. If I'm hiring them for data management, yeah, exactly. There's not going to be a ton of like deliverables or resources you can look at there. So then, what I like to do is I like to narrow it down to about 4 people. And sometimes I like to look at where they're from. Sometimes I really like VAs that work on the exact opposite schedule of me, because then I feel like a freaking awesome person when I wake up and stuff has been done overnight. And I'll be the first to admit that my VA-ishness, I get really good at hiring a VA, and I really need to hire one that I can have all the time. I just haven't got to that point yet. I've hired a lot for individual tasks, and I've had them for a month or 2 months, but I've never had one like a full-time VA, which is kind of my next step of being like my personal assistant. Things that are going to help me, it's going to help me get things done quicker. I've been working on the description and going to be doing that. So anyway, once I find my 4 that I do, I like to hire them for a trial task. But I like to preface it very carefully. I like to say I want to pay you to do a task, because I want to start off that relationship on the right foot. I want them to see that I'm not asking for free work. I'm asking for a 5-hour chunk of their time just to do a test run. Now, a lot of you can go, well, Chris, that's 4 people. If I do 5 hours at $5 a piece, that's $100 that I'm going to waste on a virtual assistant. 75 of it's never going to be actually to the person that I have. Well, if that's the case, do one that's 1 or 2 hours. Do it smaller. And I know that it sounds like you're going to be wasting money, but you're not. You're giving them a chance to show that they can understand instructions and actually do a task that you assign them with. So, like for instance, when I do data entry VAs, or when I'm hiring somebody to do web extensions, I want to get them to do something that is a very, very simple task. I have a small set of instructions, maybe a small video. Maybe it's 5-10 minute video, and then I ask them to go ahead and do what I have shown in the video and submit the deliverable to me after 2 hours of work. No matter how much they've done, not done. This has happened when we've done online sourcing. I want to see a list of everything that you have sourced or have found after your first 2 hours. And then it's time for you to essentially start grading. Now, what we're not doing is we're not going to tear apart the person, okay? We're going to look at how closely did they follow the directions they were given. And they may have not found a ton of finds for you on online arbitrage, but the ones they found may have been awesome. Somebody may have found 50 finds, and only 3 of them are worth anything. At that point, I would much rather train someone who is interested in providing quality than someone who is quickly just trying to give you quantity. The other person can be trained to be sped up and increase their production. The other one, you're going to have to reduce their deal finding capabilities because they're already finding too many that aren't that good. And you'll need to start narrowing them in on what is actually a good one. So it's all about determining what works the best for you. After that, if I have 4, I like to narrow it down to 2. 2 of the people typically can't freaking do the task that I've asked them to do. So then I get down to my final 2. And at this point, I hire them each for a week. and I do like a 10 or 15 hour work week. And essentially at this point, I have 2 VAs. And I'm not wasting any money at this point. I'm going to have them actually do the tasks that I need for them to do. I'm just going to not going to give them tons of hours to do it. Then I'm going to see after that week how my communication went with them, how the results of the task that I asked them to do have ended up. I'm just going to do that trial run period of a paid week. And then once I get to that final bit of that week, see, it's a longer process for me than most people. After I get to that final, once their 10 hours are done, then I'll look back at all of their work, consider their prices, consider their training that I'm going to have to provide to them, their communication style, everything I would typically look for in like a regular employee at a full-time position. I look at that point, and then I decide, is this the VA for me? And since I've narrowed it down to those 2, I pick from that one, and I politely let the other guy know, hey, you know what? You've been fantastic. I have no complaints about this. I've just decided to go with someone else, and I appreciate your time, and I want to keep you in my contacts that if I need another VA, I want to hire you. It's just at this time I need to hire the other guy. And when I have that finished, I then hire my VA and I start them on a tiered program. So the first week is going to be, since we just did another 10-hour week, I may bump them up to a 15 to 20-hour week, just to see how they handle an increase in time. And then once we get past that increase in time, we'll get them up to the level, maybe it's 30, 40 hours a week you want them to work. And then you have a list of tasks that are project-based. So they're the ones that they're going to be doing because it needs to be done now. Like, oh, Chris, you have this that needs to be done. Well, let's get this done. Great, okay, so then we get those, and then you have the reoccurring tasks. So once this VA gets everything done that's on the project-based list, or list A, they should go to list B, start at the top, and work their way down. So it may be removing old feedback, it may be online sourcing for 2 hours, it may be taking screenshots of shirts you want redesigned, or this or that. Whatever it is, that's what they do with the remaining bits of time. And I like to set very rigid standards, like I don't want you to work more than 8 hours a day, just so that I have enough time the next morning to look at it, see how that went, and see if there's anything I need to add to the project-based tasks or not. So that's how I hire and hire a VA. It's a pretty drawn-out process, but I find that once I actually do that, I get really high-caliber VAs. I don't get those people who just really suck. And that really helps because I spent the time up front doing the vetting process, and in the back end, I don't have to worry about like, oh, I didn't think about this. This person obviously doesn't have this skill set. Well, if you have done your vetting process correctly, you're going to know that before you ever pull the trigger and hire someone. And yeah, you may spend $150, $200 on testing and trial runs and looking at that, but if it is able to save you a ton of money and actually save you a bunch of time as well. It's going to suck if you spend a month with a VA and they are absolutely horrible, when you could have spent a month looking for a VA, finding the perfect one, and then never having to worry about it again. So, are there any questions associated with that? Because I'm just about at work, so that was kind of my spiel for the day of the process I use for VAs, kind of the tasks they can do. And if you really want a good sense of telling you about that 24/7 VA, go over to their site. They break down skill. Oh, average pay. Yeah, okay, sorry, I'll get to that. They break down tiers of like, here's what some people can do, here's another one. That'll help you generate some ideas for tasks. Average pay on virtual assistants. My graphic designer one is $5 an hour. That is what I'm paying for her to do my graphic designing that I have. most VAs are going to run through the range of $3 to $7 an hour, depending on the skill set you're looking for. Now, you can do project-based VAs, so I just want you to build blank for me or do blank for me, and you can offer a one-time fee for that. That's how I do the majority of my Google extensions, Google Chrome extensions. I say, hey, I need this built, quote me this out, and then I find somebody with a pretty good portfolio behind them. But the average pay is between $3 to $7. I would range it more 4 to 6 is probably a range you're going to have to pay for a pretty good VA. If you're looking for one who's literally just going to be able to say, I need this stuff done in Excel, you could probably move it along the $3 range and not have any issues with that. And I mean, that's totally true, totally valid. I think if you want a good quality VA, $4 an hour is going to be your lower end of that spectrum. Any other questions? Thanks, Vicky, for the compliment. Vicky's always one of my favorites. Not because you sent me that nice little phone charger, it's just because you're very nice and always on these things. Anything else? See, my steering wheel's turning. We're going to find a parking space. See, we're early in the morning now, guys. Just so you guys are aware, I was telling them this morning, we now are 7 a.m. for the summer when it comes to these periscopes. So just beware, 7 o'clock is the time we will be live in the summertime, 7 a.m. Anything else, guys? If not, Chris Wookie out!